Analyzing comparable scenarios. Now, it is easy to make comparable analyses. If Joe were to make decisions on the means or averages, he would have to compare the mean line on the comparison table. On average, his current situation would imply an average annual profit of over $102,000. However, if he were to fire one cousin and remain with only one worker and reduce capacity, his mean profit would increase to close to $109,000. On the other hand, if he were to hire an additional worker, thus increasing his capacity, his expected profit would rise to $107,000. In other words, from an expected or mean point of view, he is better off with more or less capacity. He should make a decision. If he were to only look at mean profits, the clear decision would be to fire his cousin. Let us now consider the risks of all options. On downside risk, consider that Joe has already established on his mind a critical value, $60,000. This is the minimum amount that he requires annually to fulfill his household needs. If he were to earn less than that amount, he would be placed in a critical situation, probably forcing him to ask for credit loans and getting in debt, which he abhors. By taking a look at the probabilities calculated on the probabilistic bar to the left side of $60,000, we are able to assess corresponding likelihoods. If he were to remain on his current status of not firing or firing full-time employees, the probability of a negative outcome less than $60,000 would be of 10.1%, approximately 1 every 10 possible outcomes. However, this probability decreases to only 1.7% if he were to take the conservative approach of downsizing his operations. On the other hand, by hiring another worker, the probability of a bad outcome increases slightly to 12.7%, approximately 1 every 8 possible outcomes. Therefore, if Joe were to be a very conservative or risk-averse individual, he would probably choose to downsize operations by firing a worker and significantly reduce the likelihood of a bad outcome, while slightly increasing his expected annual profit by over $4,000. On the other hand, if he were to consider upside risk, that is, the probability of generating more than $120,000 a year, the option to hire another worker would be favored. He would be increasing his probability from 28% to 36% by increasing his payroll. In other words, instead of expecting a good year on 2 out of 7 possible years, he would now be getting a good year almost 3 out of 7 possible outcomes. In other words, a risk-prone individual would probably favor this second option of hiring another full-time employee, whereas a risk-averse individual would choose to fire one worker and simplify operations. In any case, it is clear he has to make a decision to move out of his current situation, which is not optimal either from a risk-averse or risk-prone point of view.